All right, so we're on Australian Survivor, season 9, episode 17. All right, last time we had Shay going home. Well, not actually going home. She got voted out, but she got sent to something called purgatory, which is a twist they had in the game before that I've seen, which is basically like, I think the next 3 people to get voted out. So it's like Shay and 2 more people that get voted out get to compete in a competition, and then one of them gets back into the game. All right, so she's not technically out yet. But before that, we had Jesse going home after giving Sam his idol. And he told Sam to give it to Jordie, and he told Jordie that she has it. And Jordie eventually let slip that she has it and that both of them has an idol, and he tried to use that to sort of save himself while he had immunity. But turns out most people don't believe him. The only one that really believes him is Michelle, because she also wanted to get rid of Josh because Josh was part of the reason why her sister ended up going home when they split the votes between those two. And yeah, so basically, no one really believes him at the moment, but Sam is freaking out so bad that they're starting to believe that it might actually be true. Okay, so last time he won immunity, he was able to save himself that way. But because he saved himself, Shay ended up going to purgatory. All right, come to this episode, and it's a whole thing with Sam and Jordie. He voted for Mark last time. The reason he's saying he did that was because he wanted to make Sam feel safe, because that's his true target. That's the person he really wants to get home, sent home is, or sent to the jury in this case, is Sam, not Mark, because what Sam did to his brother. All right, so he's sharpening past everyone, and they seem to be buying it to a certain extent, because I think they just realized that just those two being together, they eventually have to take a shot. But they put themselves in a situation where Josh and his cousin Jordan pretty much stuck with Sam and Mark at the moment, because without them, the singles would vote out Josh immediately. And Jordan hasn't really made that many moves. So even if he goes to the end with his cousin, he's not going to win. Like, I don't, but it's whatever. So they kind of stuck in this situation. And plus, they waited so long to make a move. Now it's pretty much tied up. There's 8 people in the game. Sorry. There's Sam, there's Mark, there's Josh, there's Jordan, there's Jordie, there's Chrissy, there's Michelle, and there's David. It's 8. Yeah, it is 8 people. All right, so there's 8 people left in the game. So four of them are couples, and or loved ones, because it's blood versus water, and 4 of them are singles. They had their loved ones voted out before. So it's tied up at this point, and they can't really make a move without convincing one of the two to flip on each other. So that's the situation that they're currently in. Let's get skip all this talking and get to the first competition. All right, it was a reward challenge, and the prize is a brand new car. Looks like this. I don't know if it's a good car or not. I don't know that much about cars, but it looks like a soccer mom designed it. All right, so that's the prize. It turns out it's a car that Jordie wanted for a long time. So, I mean, there's that. Let's get to the competition. All right, it looks like this. This is what the reward competition looks like. See right there. They're going to start over here, and they're going to be bags, 2 bags tied to a rope. And what they have to do is shimmy the rope through around, it's going to be, the rope is going to go around this pole, down through the water, down here, around this little disc there. There's like a platform that's attached to a pole that's in the water, but the rope is tied around it. So they have to swing the bag around that, up here, up this platform, up above and down. They have to shimmy it all the way down to the end. And when they get to the end of this post right here, then they can untie their bag from the rope. And in the bag is going to be balls, round balls that they're going to then use on this little thing right here. So it's going to be, it's kind of like a five-point little star right there. So they're going to roll the ball down, and on each point on the end of this pole is a little socket that the ball lands in. So they have to gently roll the ball and land it into each of those points in order to win. Okay. All right. They're off to a good start. Right away, Jordie blitz it. Like he got all the way to the end before anyone else. Mark was right in second there, right next to him, while everyone was still trying to get through the obstacle course. All right. All right, but eventually he was able to land one ball, but eventually everyone made it. I'll show you a picture of closer picture of what the thing looks like. You can see those little white things there. That's the hole that you got to land the ball into. All right. Yeah, eventually he made one in, and everyone else was able to catch up. Eventually Mark made one in, and they were tied up, and then Jordie made two, and then Dave came out of nowhere. Impressively, Dave came out of nowhere, and he landed two in a row and tied it up with Jordie, and they were like back and forth. Jordie was able to get four, then Dave made four, and they came down to that last minute, down to the last one, and they were very close, but eventually Jordie made it, and he was able to win the reward. All right. So it was like, and Dave was like a second behind him. That was the first time Dave has ever performed in any challenge, in any competition or anything like that, reward challenge, or any challenge whatsoever. So that's Jordie's fourth win in a row. So he won the last reward challenge and the last two immunities, and now he just won this reward challenge. So that's 4 wins in a row that he's got. All right. So he, when he won the car, he also had got a trip to a drive-in movie or whatever, where there was like nachos, and he got to choose people to go with him. The first one he chose was Jordan. I believe he's choosing people based on who he's trying to convince to vote his way. So the first one he chose was Jordan. The next one he chose, I believe, was David. No, it was Michelle. He chose Michelle. She already had a thing against Josh. She already voted that way. So she should be an easy one to convince. All right. And the last one he chose was David. He said because David was so close and could have won it, but really he needed to convince David. If he can get those 3 to vote his way, then he only needs 1 more after that. Well, he doesn't really need 1 more. That makes 4 with him. That makes 4, and that's at least tied. And if the others decide to split the votes, even better. If they don't decide to split it, he can at least tie it up. That just makes his chances that much better. All right. And if they tie it up and those and Sam didn't use hidden immunity idol, then pretty much everyone's going to vote her out. But because of his winnings, I think they're going to vote him out before they vote her out. But you got to do what he's got to do. All right. So the drive-in movie was just basically their family members making videos, telling them to go for it or whatever. It wasn't very impressive. You had Dave with his daughter, Brianna. She got voted out very early on. See his daughter right there. She got voted out very early on, and now she's back at home with his wife there, telling him to go for it. Dave can't win. I don't know why they're rooting for him. He's terrible in strategy, terrible in competition. I mean, he did good in this one, but he still didn't win. So. Jordie was able to convince Michelle that the idol thing was true, that Sam and Mark both have idols. He was able to convince her. She believed it, but the other two didn't really believe it because they think Jesse is smart enough that he wouldn't make that kind of a mistake. He wouldn't just give Sam his idol, which fair enough, but he is that dumb. He really did do that. So, right. Right after the reward challenge, they go straight to the immunity challenge. And this one is also endurance. All right. So it looks like this. It wasn't a very impressive challenge. I mean, it's impressive because it's hard, but basically they have to balance this long pole with a little idol at the end of it. So eventually they have to move down. I think like after every 30 minutes, they have to move down on a thinner end of the thing that they're balancing on, the balancing beam. It gets windy, so it's a difficult challenge if you're not focused. If you lose your focus for a moment, the idol could fall off. All right, so it was very difficult, but it wasn't. I mean, there wasn't much to watch. At the end there, it came down to, I think after 6 minutes, most of the people fell out. It's like, so that's what it looks like. After 6 minutes, Chrissy, Dave, who was that? Who is that? I'm trying to remember. Who else is there? So you got Mark, you got Jordan, Josh, Jordie, Sam, and Michelle. Who's this third person? Oh, KJ, right. KJ dropped out. And I think after, and the next person to drop out like 2 seconds later is going to be Michelle. And then Sam is going to drop out. And then it's just going to come down to these three. And then they're going to have to, eventually, they're going to have to transition to a thinner part of the beam. It's going to be like, I think they're at this one right here. And they're going to have to move to all the way to this one. And after they move down, then Josh falls out. No, the first one is Mark. And then after they shift down, then Josh falls out. And then it comes down to Jordie and Jordan competing. It went for a long time. They went for like almost an hour, I believe. Most of the people fell out within the first 10 minutes, and the last two stayed for like an hour. But in the end, Jordie ended up dropping it, and Jordan ended up winning the immunity. All right. So he lost, but he's not out of the fight. He's still fighting. He's still trying to convince people of the idol thing. Sam is still getting nervous, still kind of freaking people out because she's constantly asking questions. None of them have revealed yet to her that Jordie has said that she had the idol. So she doesn't want to bring it up first because then that would just confirm in people's mind. So it's just a game of what does she say and what they say to her, and no one is revealing anything to her. All right. I mean, even their closest ally, Josh and Jordan, is not even revealing that Jordie told them about the idol, and they're constantly just going around asking people what's Jordie saying. So he's speaking to pretty much everyone except those two. All right, they get to tribal, and they saw the jury. They saw the jury, and they only saw 3 people on the jury, which is Khan, Melissa, and Jesse. They didn't see Shay, so everyone's wondering what's going on. But they didn't really get to ask questions about it. But that should, that should click in people's heads, because they've watched the previous season. They should know about the purgatory twist, Okay, so they get to the vote, and before they get to the vote, Jordie, right in front of Tribal, reveals that they have the idols. He reveals it right in front of everyone, that they have the idols, and he looks to his brother and he says his brother can't really say anything because he's on the jury, but if he could nod his head and confirm that they have it, and freaking he nodded his head and he kind of showed that it was true, but still no one believed it. Josh is saying he doesn't really believe it. Josh is saying I have to choose between allies that's always been with me and someone that's tried to blindside me. So he's choosing to believe that they're telling the truth, and they're acting like he's lying, and it became a whole thing between those two. And Jordie says something that everyone should think about. He says, the reason I haven't been looking for idols is because I know where they both are. It's like, my head is on the chopping block. He hasn't scrambled around looking for idols. He's been talking to people the whole time. That should immediately, that should have been the first thing that they thought about. That's the first thing I would have think about, was that he's worried about going home, but he's not looking for an idol. Not once did he look for an idol. So he must be telling the truth. But you get to the vote, and Jordie voted for Sam by himself, and everybody else voted for Jordie. He ended up going home. Well, going to purgatory. As soon as he gets voted out, though, turns out double elimination. Right after he goes, Jonathan says, you got to vote one more person out right now. So they immediately go to vote. They didn't even get the chance to even talk about who they're going to vote for. They immediately go to vote, and the votes came out, and it was, I believe, 1 for Sam, 2 for Mark, and 4 for KJ, which means Josh, Jordan, Sam, and Mark voted for KJ, and I believe David finally decided to play, and he voted for Mark. And who else voted for Mark? Michelle, I believe, voted for Mark as well, and I think Chrissy probably voted for Sam. So, but KJ ended up going home. So now we have everyone we need in the purgatory competition. So next episode, probably they're going to be competing whoever comes back. I'm hoping it's Jordie. I'm hoping it's Jordie because he has a good chance of winning immunity again. But even if he wins, there's still people outside of that 4-person alliance that can still get taken out, which is David and Chrissy. Oh, there's also Michelle, but that is 3 people. If one more comes back, damn, but still there's 2, but Sam and Mark still has the idol. I don't know, man. I don't know. He's gonna have to win like 2 in a row in order to stay safe. It's gonna be a struggle because they're probably gonna vote out Michelle, and if he's safe, if he comes back and he stays safe, they're gonna vote out Michelle, and he would have to get safety again, and then, but then they will still have the numbers. But I don't think they'll stick to the alliance. I think they'll try to blindside. I think Josh is going to try to blindside either Sam or Mark next time, because he's starting to. I'm thinking he's starting to believe it. There's enough evidence. Even when Jordie was going home, well, thought he was going home, he said to him, they have the idol. And I'm thinking he's starting to believe it. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. So till next time.